When we send our men and women in uniform overseas, we make a promise to them that we will give them the resources they need to carry out their missions, that we will provide the support their families need at home, and that we will take care of them when they come back. That's why what you're doing with Heading Home Ramsey is so important, and I want to thank you for your leadership and commitment to end veteran homelessness in Ramsey County. The statistics are alarming. On any given night in Minnesota, 700 vets are without a place to call home. In Ramsey County, 14% of homeless adults are veterans. These are Americans who served and sacrificed for our country. The fact that they are out there on their own is simply unacceptable. To help address this crisis, last year I introduced the Helping Homeless Vets Act, bipartisan legislation to help homeless veterans get back on their feet. The President signed my legislation into law this summer. It's now the law of the land.
We have a goal of ending homelessness for veterans and their families by 2015. I get to work closely with Secretary Shinseki of the Department of Veterans Affairs and Secretary Sean Donovan at the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And let me tell you that their commitment to figuring out how to end homelessness for veterans is intense. They're working together, bringing their teams together to set shared goals, to use the same data to measure progress, and to really change strategies from some of the old ways of just helping veterans who showed up at the door of the VA to figuring out how to go out into communities and partner to get veterans into homes as quickly as possible.
For you?
Ma'am, I was really tired of being homeless, tired of getting up in the morning and having to leave at 6:30 and 7 o'clock. Especially during the winter months. It's cold outside. I mean, you leave the shelter at 6:30 here at the Dorothy Day Center, 7:30 in the morning at the Union Guard Submission. But to come out into the cold and not having any place to go and get warm, I mean, it gets really bad, you know. I mean, you get sick, you get cold, you get flu, the pneumonia. I mean, I was just tired of it. And I just made up my mind, I mean, I have to get help from somewhere. And I found out about the HUD-VASH program at the VA, which is for homeless veterans. And they were able to help me get my own apartment and get resources to, you know, I mean, just to not be homeless anymore.
In the winter time is probably the hardest for a veteran, though, being homeless, because you got to find heat and you got to find shelter, and a lot of times you get a storm. So if they could get housing for all of them, they wouldn't have to be out in that storm.
Not everybody's ready for rapid rehousing. Not everybody's ready for VASH voucher. Not everybody's ready to just pay rent on their own. Sometimes people need to start in a more of a supportive setting so they can gain the skills that they need so they can be successful, still have those opportunities. It's just not the right opportunity right now. Supportive housing for our clients and this community is kind of a no-brainer. A lot of folks need supportive services. You can't just expect that folks coming out of homelessness or folks who've become homeless automatically have the skill set to maintain their housing or be able to maintain their housing. Sometimes we have to offer services such as case management, basic needs. Maybe they need budgeting services. Maybe they just need having that supportive housing available, and they're in supportive housing, so there's someone always available.
Hopefully this little thing will come off today.
Now what is that you're wearing?
It's a bracelet for end veterans homelessness. I'm a veteran of, I was in the service between 1986 or 1985 and 1986, but I got medically discharged because I developed a seizure disorder over in Germany. So right now I'm just living here, but I go and see an apartment this afternoon. Hopefully that turns out good. Most help I got through the services here is the veterans representative that comes every Thursday morning. He got me hooked up with the Section 8 and public housing, so I got bumped up on a list and I got my voucher about 2 weeks ago. And hopefully this afternoon I'll be find out if I move in on the 1st.
If people are allowed to move into a home of their own and given intensive support for as long as they need it, We're seeing incredible success housing people that maybe once upon a time people thought didn't want a home or wouldn't be able to make it in housing. So I just want you to know that in Washington, we are committed to ending veterans homelessness by 2015, but we can't do it without every community in the country helping out.
I see veterans every day in this job, veterans from all eras. Vietnam veterans are the #1 population of veterans our office is serving right now. Some of that's demographic. But a lot of the veterans that I see from that era who are homeless or at risk of homelessness have been struggling with psychological issues for a really long time.
I think the first step would be to speed up the process of assisting people. And that's not to say that the government or the VA or anybody else is going slow. I think they're simply overwhelmed at this point and need more resources, need more money to provide resources for folks.
I served a pregnant female Iraq veteran. When I met her, she was living in her car in a Walmart parking lot, and she was holding down a job, which she had got actually since becoming homeless, and she was 7 months pregnant. And so if you can imagine the challenge of being 7 months pregnant, living in your car, holding down a day job, and in theory, trying to find enough resources to get into housing and stabilize in housing, you can kind of get an idea of the complexity of the situations that we see.
I didn't have anywhere to go, and I was tired of making the same mistakes and not knowing where to go and not having any support from people. And my probation officer from Ramsey County asked me why don't I go down to the VA and ask them. And I didn't think that there was anything, and I put it off for a long time, and I finally did. And then when I did, they told me about the program that they had here. I've lived in Maplewood here it's Sober Independent Living. We have a house manager. They make sure that we're working. They make sure that we're following a schedule, following a routine. They make sure that we have to save a certain percentage of our checks. We have to pay our bills. We have to remain clean and sober. We have to go to 2 meetings a week and have that documented where they are and have our cards signed and turn all that in. We have to turn in our pay stubs to show that we're actually working, not just saying that we are doing odd jobs for people. So it helps give us back our structure in life, since if we had all the structure, then we probably wouldn't be needing the help. So.
Homelessness and unemployment are kind of running parallel to each other, and that's oftentimes when we encounter a veteran and seeking after our services, typically either is threatening losing employment or has lost employment, which is equally contributed to their homeless issue.
When our soldiers signed up to serve, there wasn't a waiting line. And when they come back home and they need help getting a job or a home or the health benefits that they deserve, there should never be a waiting line in the United States of America.
So I just think that if you could maybe pair people up with a vet that's already been through it, that would be something that would really help.
I know that it's possible for us to reach the goal of ending veterans homelessness by 2015, because in the last year we saw a 12% reduction in veterans homelessness. If we can accomplish a 12% reduction in 1 year, if we roll up our sleeves and all work hard together focused on this issue, we can get it done.